Chapter 1, Section 2, Rex Ranch, 60 miles south of Tucson, Arizona. Quote, "Wheels of light. Within each being are wheels of light, spinning silent, hidden from our sight. They carry knowledge we can share, when we know they are twirling there. Somewhere, somehow, long ago, ancient humans came to know the mysteries of this ancient flow. From wheel to wheel it did go. In each tiny atom, in each cell, the mystery of the creation spell. In each thing we can surely find both the nothing and the mind. Somewhere, somehow in this time, I wish all mankind comes to find that through them we are not apart, but exist as one collective heart." A poem by Dr. William R. Schroeder, D.O., MCDB. After the initial experiments, the group traveled south to Rex Ranch. Rex Ranch is the kind of place that exudes the energy of the desert. Immediately upon arriving there, I could feel that this place was special. It was in a remote area in the high Sonoran Desert, far from the big city lights, so the dark night skies were bright with the stars. The Milky Way galaxy there was spectacular. Strong wells or springs fed the cottonwood trees that suddenly appeared along the dry river course. The gardener there was a magician, weaving a beautiful green tapestry on the carefully maintained grounds. Chairs beckoned in the shade of the massive central mesquite tree. It was a place of cool, deep water that somehow made its way to the surface. Across the dry river, it was near desolation, a real honest-to-God desert wilderness. At the time of the experiment, Rex Ranch was a working cattle ranch and a dude ranch. The experiment would briefly transform it into a, quote, energy dude ranch. Based on the reactions I saw at the laboratory, we were all newbies to this field. I arrived before noon that Friday, checked in, put my luggage in my room, and explored the lush, irrigated grounds. I love to walk in the desert. I went to the dry riverbed and walked across it and up the hill behind the ranch. I picked the highest spot. From the top of the hill, I could see the bright green expanse of Rex Ranch. It was an improbable oasis in an arid landscape. Sadly, I understand it is derelict now, and the efforts to try to save it have failed. Off to the east, I could see great distant mountains, gray-green against the blue afternoon sky. If I had a pack and some camping gear, I would have set off for those lonely summits, knowing that I would traverse paths that only my feet would ever know. My journey had begun, though I scarcely knew it. Again I was anxious, knowing that we would meet our teacher, someone who knew about energy medicine. I did not know that I would be meeting one of the most famous and talented people in that arena. Her name is Rosalind L. Bruyere, Doctor of Divinity, and to be quite frank, I consider her more talented than any physician I have ever met. If only doctors were able to understand how powerful certain individuals in this world are in terms of healing, the world would be a much better place. I am certain that Rosalind would like nothing better than to collaborate with them to achieve the results that our patients deserve. As a doctor with this audiobook, I am coming out of the closet as an energy healer who performs energy medicine. I am no longer embarrassed by this. More on this later. Rosalind is perhaps the most mysterious person I have ever met. I will likely not ever be able to understand what she taught me. I cannot imagine what she knows. When I first met her, I would have sworn that she was ordinary. I had no idea who I had just met. I have no idea what she would want me to reveal. She would want people to know that she is a Hopi medicine woman and a Tibetan Buddhist bone oracle. In other words, she is the clairvoyant and medicine woman for two very separate and powerful traditions steeped in energy medicine. I have met many of her students, themselves powerful healers in their own right. She is the consummate teacher of energy medicine. She reveals that on her website, but she is much more than that to me. I consider her my, quote, energy mother. That is because she allowed me to give birth to a new way of being for my patients and myself. The first time I spoke with her was in the shade at Rex Ranch. I would learn much from her, but much more from my patients. I distinctly remember our initial meeting. The conversation was casual, yet I recall the feeling that she was in some way evaluating me. I would later realize that Rosalind was a seer of great power. She could, quote, see the energy field, the aura of other people easily, and had had that ability since she was a very young child. I, to this day, wonder what she saw when she looked at my aura. I would later learn that Rosalind had come from a lineage, her family, who shared this ability to see not only the human aura or energy field of living beings, but spirits as well. I now often wonder how many children are divested of that ability as they age out of childhood. Her children inherited her ability. I recall she was direct and certain in her answers, and that I did not know what to ask. If I had it to do all over again, my questions would have been endless. As it was, I spent most of my time listening to her conversation with another person under a beautiful tree surrounded by an expansive green lawn. I am forever indebted to Rosalind for showing me some of the complexities of the human energy field. After the completion of the experiment, a group of doctors from the fellowship continued to learn from her. Joined by others who had not participated at the energy lab, we would experience the unknown and unknowable, guided by her, laypersons and physicians among us. Gradually, that group dispersed. They had their own experiments and journeys into consciousness. I wonder what they found. I would meet others who had been learning from her for decades. After an evening dinner and a stimulating conversation with my colleagues, I went off alone to gaze at the stars illuminating the high desert. They glittered beyond my reach and understanding. It was a magnificent and awesome display. My excitement and anticipation made it difficult to sleep. The next day, we would meet with Rosalind as a group for some instruction. I could not imagine what we would be taught. In the morning, I left the grounds and went for a lengthy walk in the dry surroundings along trails well worn by visitors. Periodically, I would leave the paths and explore on my own, as I often would when I walked in the desert. In the distance, those high, gray, and green mountains still beckoned. Already the desert was warming to the day. Breakfast was sweet and satisfying after my long walk.